Welcome back to Venting with Us, guys. I hope you guys had a phenomenal week. It was kind of dreary out here. I'm so ready for summer. And of course, every single day I'm healing, I'm getting better. So I hope everybody had a great weekend, though it was a little nippy. Ugh, I just can't take it. And you know what's so funny is that I was going through social media, right? And I'm just like catching up. And of course, we're gonna do the Corey Richins story today because let me tell you now by all means, like you have to understand is that first of all, I've said this from day one. I'm probably the worst person to be around in serious situations. I'm just not that person. But I always try and find the humor in bad situations or when I feel it's dark times. Like you have to see the light somewhere in that tunnel. Um, but what I've just come to the realization with this story is that people do some real dumb ass shit. They really, really like you can't, when you think you have seen it all, trust me, you have not seen it all. Let me tell you, so, I'm craving really, really bad, and I've been like, I can tell that my body is healing. Side note, because my brain is swimming of things that I just like want to eat. But it's so weird because I can't eat it, and that's normal after you have laparoscopy. People's body are different, um, but yeah, no, I'm sorry. I don't know why, because all of a sudden I thought of chicken. Don't know why. And then I was thinking of ribs. Like I'm telling you, I think I was a fat girl once upon a time in my life. And all I saw was like it was a cartoon moment where I had the little bubbles and it went bloop, 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 and then there was chicken. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry, guys. So see, this is where my ADHD comes into play. I can have a whole conversation, but like, I just want some chicken. I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Oh my God. But I don't know if it's me or it's just people are just not bright in the world. Like, and we're gonna like again, we're gonna break down the Corey Richins story. And if you guys have not heard about this is some crazy ass Utah white person privilege that did not follow any of the murder rules. Like you might as well have gotten the book of how to get away with murder for dummies book because this is the wildest story and I could not wait to actually be on here with you guys and really break this down in my view. Now keep in mind I am not one of those people that follows the documentary rules. Fuck that. I'm going to break all the rules. I'm going to give you laughter. I'm going to give you jokes and let's break this down now. So who was Corey Richins? If you guys have been in a bubble, which most are, let's deep dive into this story. It's been all over the news lately. She just got convicted for 25 years to life, for killing her husband, Eric Richins. Now, before we go forward into this story, I don't want people to come off saying, well, this is a death, somebody lost their life. Yes, listen, I am a person that's very sympathetic. You have to have the most evilest bone in your body, the most hatred to take somebody's life. I could never do it. I don't know how someone can look at them and that not be tarnished in their brain every single day. Cause you got to keep in mind, like, you're going to be replaying this for the rest of your life, and I've had some real deep shit happen to me in my life. And though time has passed, is that another hot chocolate K cup? You see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, now I want hot chocolate. which I can't have. See, there we go. ADHD. I really have problems focusing today. But you like I still, and though that time has passed, I still relive some of those traumatic moments in my life. And you always think about like what you could have done different, and in those moments, but obviously, you can't. So, I definitely send my condolence to Eric's family, his sister, which you could tell watching the court case. She's never going to be able to live her life the same ever. Even his kids, they're going to be reminded that his mother took their dad away from them. That's so traumatic. So, but Corey Richins, I think it's Richins, I think that's the way you say it, Richins, was a mother of three from Utah. Why does everything happen in Utah? People need to stay away from Utah. Like, if someone says to me, hey, let's just move to Utah, I think it would be a great place to live. I'm going to feel like, nah, you're trying to kill me. There's going to be a murder case and we're going to need surveillance. I don't think so. Like, we're not moving to Utah. Like, I'm going to have to investigate this. Seriously. Like, this is how traumatic my life will be. But this woman had the balls to write a children's book about grief after her husband, Eric's death. She was convicted with aggravated murder to his death by poisoning him with fentanyl. Now, let me tell you, this girl, if you're going to commit a crime, there are so many flags that just said you are dumb. This may not be the field you might want to go into. Okay. This is you just like leaving trails for everybody. Like, you were Hansel and Gretel leaving all the chips and all the snacks for people to find you. Like, you were not very, very, very smart. She slipped Eric 5 times the amount of opioid into his cocktail drink, which is crazy. Like, you were really determined to like take him out, okay? Um, and then try to say, "Oh, we were celebrating with that much opioid, girl." Let's back up here a minute. Like, you should have done that in dosage. I don't know what to tell you, but she was literally on a mission and trying to win. Um, she was $4.5 million in debt, which is crazy because she also was a person who flipped houses. She was basically not really good at her job. So these flipping these houses was again not really good at your job at all. And what's sad about this case is that, of course, when you go to court, they're going to dig up everything. And they show how her flipping house business was doing. And in the first year, not really good. The second year, it was getting worse. The third year, worse, 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 worse. So she was not really a good flipper. Like, she should have talked to Jeff Lewis. She should have like really like gone in deep. But she figured that, okay, look, my husband, he's got a good business. We can whack him out and, I'll get $4 million from his estate. Now, I'm just saying, if you're going to commit a crime, the one thing that you do not want to do is Google. I have said this in previous shows. You're leaving the crumbs. You're leaving the crumbs. Okay. We don't use our electronics to mastermind a whole plan. Like, she was Googling how to kill somebody, how much fentanyl, to kill somebody, will kill somebody. You don't put that on your phone, and then what you don't do is get rid of your phone and get a new phone, because that's just anonymous, right? She was also having an affair with a man, and I felt bad for him because um you can tell that he was baffled. He served his time in the military. Um, he really thought that he had a winner on his hands. And his, see, now here's the thing, his first flag while they were having this affair was when she is, now okay, now if you've seen every horror movie, you've seen every murder mystery movie, you've seen anything that comes with crime, when people have an affair, right? It's all great in the beginning, right? And you're like, "Oh, I love you, puppy." It's like it's great and whatnot. And then when there's a motive behind the affair, right? And the psychopath at any given time, gents, okay, if the woman says to you, have you ever killed anybody? And how did you feel about that? And how many people have you killed? Boy, run the other way because that is ding, 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 ding. Like, I love you, but I don't love you that much in this type of situation. Okay. So you may want to just process that first for a second. Um, she also tried to she was also convicted for attempted murder. The authorities had ended up finding out that she allegedly attempted to kill Eric by lacing his sandwich on Valentine's Day. See, and I told you guys, Valentine's Day is not a good day for all those suckers out there that love Valentine's Day. I'm telling you, shit goes down on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, V-Day, is a bitch. That is an awful, awful day. And especially in Utah, nah, I'm good. I'm going to need you to not talk to me on Valentine's Day. I'm going to need you to stay away from me on Valentine's Day. I don't want any of this. No, like give me every type of evil eye that you can give me to protect me. Santo Dios. No, 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 no. We are not playing. So he ended up feeling sick. He injected himself with one of those hyper needles, when you have an allergic reaction. So he made it. But then she a couple of weeks later, not again, this is not funny. Um, took him out. She dosed him 5 times more in his cocktail drink. He should never have the cocktail drink. I would have been like, what we celebrated? What's going on? So yeah. Um I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Oof. So they had her when okay, so this is what happens. She calls 911. You get to hear the 911 call. The cops come, and of course, now we have to go into acting class. And the cops are like, well, what happened? And while she's on the phone, again, you hear everything. So if you guys want to see the documentary, by the way, I forgot to mention this part. Again, you can watch it on Hulu. Between Hulu and Netflix, like I'm tied in, guys. I'm tied in. But so you hear the 911 call and she's explaining to the operator, she's like, I don't know. I was sleeping in my kid's room. Red flag right there. Cause you always want it. Like every time somebody does a crime, they either leave the house, right? Or they're in their kid's bedroom and they fell asleep. Okay. Haven't heard that one before. Okay. So she's like, I don't know. I was in my kid's bedroom. I fell asleep. Blah, 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 blah. So, what the operator had said, and again, if you're going to commit a crime, you got to go all out. Like, you got to go all out. Make sure your T's are crossed, your I's are dotted. Like, you got to be a psychopath. Okay. Like, literally, if you're going to commit a crime. So she doesn't say to the operator, I don't know what to do. How can I help him? Should I start CPR? He feels like you should have been like more dramatic. She was like, I don't know. He just feels cold. He don't look right. Are the cops coming? Real cold, blah, blah, blah. The cops get there and they're like, we have no idea. Like, we think he probably OD'd. Like, something don't look right here, but it is what it is. The sister of Eric ends up showing up to the house. She's hysterical. My heart breaks because you can see in that moment that she knows, but she doesn't know, but she has an inkling. And this is her only brother. You could tell that they were very, very close. This is where it's very heartbreaking. And then she's talking to the cop on the side. And this is where for me, I was like, oh shit just got real right now. And this is all gonna break down like one by one by one by one. She was like, just to let you know, I'm the trustee of the estate. And the cop said, he's like, that is not a normal thing. Your marriage has to be really fucked up for your wife not to be the trustee of an estate. Okay. Now, Corey didn't do her homework right. Okay. So she basically committed a murder and got nothing from killing this person. Okay. Eric, poor thing. He was like a great dad. He coached I think it was a baseball little leagues game. Like, he was an amazing dad. The way the sister explains how he was and how he was as a person, which, Corey, you had to have been dumb. Like, this was probably a really good husband and you were the fucked up one in the situation, obviously, if he. um so they take the body out, and like within 24 to 48 hours, Corey is talking to the sister and she's like, yeah, we're gonna sell the house. The cops ask her, wait a minute, I have to go a little bit back. So the cops ask her, they're like, well, what happened? She was like, no, we were doing great. Another red flag. Never, like, you obviously have to tell the cops that, because you don't want to be like you're fighting, because obviously then that's going to be like, oh yeah, you were fighting. But she was like, we were celebrating. We just closed on a multi-million-dollar closing that I'm going to be opening up for my business. And we were celebrating. We were having a great time. And then I went into the kids' room and I stood in there and I fell asleep. And I don't know. And then I woke up as I always do, and I went into my room. He was cold, and that's when I called you guys. Story doesn't even make any sense, right? So fast forward, like I said, within like 24 to 48 hours, she's talking to the sister, and she tells the sister that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell the house that they were living in. Well, newsflash comes to her very, very quickly. And she ends up finding out, Corey, that Eric, not only did he not put her as the trustee of the estate, he put his sister in charge of the estate and also left a note that if something was to happen to him, quote unquote, bunny ears, that Corey did it. You understand like what kind of murder mystery shit is that, where you have to be like, yo, if I die, that person did it. That person did it. Like, that's gotta be a real fucked up, like, do or die situation for someone to leave that in their will and in their trustee estate paperwork. Like, that's like beyond, right? So she's still having this relationship with the guy. She's still and what was his name? His name was Robert Grossman. And again, I feel bad for him because he really thought that he was going to live out this dream, and whatever lie that she was telling him, like, we're going to be together. Don't worry. And then he dies and she's like, nah, man, we just got to break up for a little bit. Like, we got to, we got to put a pause on this, this, which is always what ends up happening in these situations. And then that's when the guys always turn against the girls, be like, whoa, 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 whoa. I just murdered somebody for you, and you're going to tell me we're going to pause? I don't think so. But if you really thought that this relationship, and he did admit on trial that this relationship continued for another like 8, 9 months. Um, but she had purchased, like, she had this all thought out. Or she thought she had a good plan because then she bought cruise tickets for them within like the next 4 months for them two to go on a cruise together. And, like, what were you going to do? Throw them off the boat? Like, this would have been like the craziest thing for you. So she ends up finding out again. Like I said, she finds out that she's no longer the trustee on the account, that Eric's sister is actually the trustee, and this pisses her off because now she's like, what the fuck? Like, no, like, I'm supposed to get this $4 million. Never gonna happen. I can't sell my house. Nope, nope, because you're not the trustee. The sister is like, I don't know what to tell you, girl, but basically Eric said, yeah, we're going to cut ties here. This is where you're not going to be allowed to do something. So she, completely fraudulently did this insurance scam, which she is being charged for. Those haven't gone into court yet. But she does the craziest thing, which you should never do if you're going to commit a crime. I'm just saying, if you're going to commit a crime, you don't call the man that you're having the affair with and be like, oh no, I am not the trustee. She had, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. They're taking my house. I have no money. Like, you're giving yourself away, girl. Like, calm down. Like, don't use that phone. Like, at least drive to his house and be like, and then have that conversation. Again, not so smart. You're leaving the breadcrumbs everywhere. This is a really messy, 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 messy murder that you got here. Like, girl, like, first of all, what you should have done was done all your receipts. You should have had all your receipts in place. You should have found out, okay, if this happens, quote unquote, then okay, at least I know I'm in the will. How are you going to kill somebody and not even know that you're not in the will? She just assumed, like, she was not the smartest person, to do a crime. Again, this is not her field. She didn't think about this correctly. It was just, for example, also, I was watching true crime. I watch a lot of crime investigation stuff on Netflix last night. It was like one series because the third season is coming out on Wednesday. And the last episode is about a couple, right? And the wife was just miserable in her marriage. She was getting herself all pumped up, going to the gym, looking all cute, getting her teeth done, right? Doing her. The husband was like a whole pervert, like just trying to pick up mad girls, was not cute at all. He ends up killing his wife, right? And then the person that you would least expect to like really do you in was the housekeeper. Now, here's where people go wrong. She was like, they never change their sheets. I always change their sheets. And I remember when I came in the next day, the same sheets that I put on there last night were not there. It was a different whole set of sheets. The sheets, in fact, that's a queen size bed. He put full size sheets on the mattress. I wouldn't do that. Like, you gotta be smart. You gotta really be strategic in your criminal crimes. If you're gonna do shit, you gotta be like, what would the nanny do? What would the housekeeper do? What would my wife do? Like, guys are not that smart, but she was not that smart either. This Kouri Richins, she was not very, very, very smart. Again, leaving the breadcrumbs. On top of this, right, after she finds out that she is not the trustee and she has no type of control whatsoever, now it's even fuming her. She decides the next day After Eric dies, to close out on their multi-million dollar home that she was going to do this business in. Again, you're not a good flipper. So, and we can see this, that you're in millions and millions of debt. The sister is on a trial. She was like, I cannot believe that I can't even think about what I'm going to make for dinner tonight, and yet you're closing on a multi-million dollar house. Like, and she's like, "Yep, it's my money. The money went through." Da, 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 da. And the sister is like, "You are out of your mind." So, like, how many flags have to wave in front of your face for people to for you not to realize that people are seeing through all your bullshit? Like, it just does not make any sense. You just don't do these things. This is not normal behavior. When you do a crime, you want to be on your best behavior. And this is also like, and see, I watch Columbo too. Um So everybody knows I love my Columbo. But what you also don't want to do is what, see, in some psychopaths, when they do a crime, they want to insert themselves in the crime. So they're like, yeah, I want to help with the investigation, thinking the cops are going to be stupid enough to give you information so that way you know that your name is not included in the crime, or that there's nothing that's attached to you. And years ago when people would do that, and by all means, like, we live and we learn, right? Cops were always kind of like, nah, but he's helping. There's no way that he could have committed this crime. Somebody got smart and was like, nah, this is why they're doing this, yada, yada, yada. So, when you make yourself suspicious and you do things that are just abnormal, it's going to just really reflect more on you. Then, of course, they wanted to know where the fentanyl came from. And she tried to blame that he was a drug addict and all of these things. And again, like, though you don't really know what's happening behind closed doors, you can always, when you have your family somewhat knows like what's going on, especially when the family members are close. And like I said, it seemed like Eric and his sister were very, 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 very close enough that something in my eye, sorry. That he left the estate, he left her as the trustee to the estate. That is super, super close. That means I trust you. So I'm 100% sure that if there was an issue or he had a problem, that he would probably go to her for some type of guidance, some type of help. And I don't see that at all. Watching the court case and seeing how Kouri's body language was, and even when the Robert, the boyfriends, her side lover, they were secret lovers. Okay. um she was just very, just nonchalant, had no expression at all. Like, you can see, like, as this was going on, like, it just became more cringe after cringe after cringe. And there was just like, girl, you are dumb. How are you gonna research and stuff? How are you gonna try and kill this man with 5 times the lethal dosage and then try and say he had an addiction problem? Girl, like, this story just does not make any type of sense. I'm just telling you, FYI. And then you're gonna go close on the house, like, this is not normal behavior. Even, and what makes this even worse, which I forgot to mention this part, is that when they were doing the funeral, right, and they were doing all of the stuff, she says to the sister, "I just don't have the energy. I don't have the mindset to be able to do the funeral arrangements. I don't have, the stamina to be able to do this part." And then they end up finding out a couple of hours later that she's closing on the house. Like, okay, you had like, this is what I'm saying. Like, if you were going to do that, you should have just like waited. That was not that important. Like, You just left yourself like you opened the window and you just let more shit in. like you you just seemed like you there was just no hope for you, girl. You went down the rabbit hole, and that rabbit hole was so deep that you just kept going and going and going and going and going. And girl, there was no rescue rope. There was no rescue rope for you. Like, even Robert was like, "This don't even seem right. I'm gonna cut this rope right here. I don't know what to tell you." So that goes for that. For this episode, we're already at our 30-minute mark, and we're gonna close this up. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And again, my condolences go out to the family. This is such a terrible, terrible, terrible situation for anybody. My heart pours out for the family. That being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week. And we will deep dive into some other, murder mystery documentary in there. Have a great day, guys. Love you so much. Bye.